Hello and welcome to the Gooners podcast. Oh, it's a special England edition, except I can't get the volume down. So it is the coming home episode. It's coming home Eve. We're about to have a rager. Tom's missus is out of town, so we're just throwing furniture around. We're going to have a great time. The drinks are cracked open. We're going to talk about a bunch of shit, and we're going to find out once and for all whether it is coming home or not. So stay tuned for the Gooners podcast. Welcome back to the Gooners podcast, season 6, episode 4. Tom, did you ever think we'd make it to 6 seasons? Or 6 shows for that matter, or the 6th minute of any particular show?
I was just trying to look, and this is going to come across so up my own arse, but when that bit of the intro where it says world-renowned guests, am I in it? Am I in? I am, aren't I? Am I in it?
I don't know. The original one that I did was just you for the whole time, and then I'm like, that's not rapid enough. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and check. But always good to have you back. You're a podcasting fool today, minus the fool part, but just Max Headroom's joining us. Eoin, this is like the Christmas Story, you know, where it's like, and as a Jew, I don't really know that movie, but isn't there a movie where like some dude looking at it, you know, Ghost of Christmas Past, Ghost of Christmas Present, Future? This is like your Ghost of Podcast Past, Present, and Future, because Tom,
your audio is gone all.
Your audio is awful. I can't hear a word.
Just let them run through it, man.
Jesus Christ.
Any
better?
Now?
That's better.
That's way better. What did you do?
Tom is the ghost of Podcast Past, and you left those pastures to come over here. What were you thinking?
I didn't leave. I just branched out. Broaden my horizons, and I don't know, man, maybe it was a mistake. I'm starting to think it was a mistake. I take it you're going to say something about the potential tattoo I could be receiving as well, so which is a funny story actually, because I think it might need to go in. I was round in no, it's not going to be like that, don't worry about it. I was round in the missus' house earlier, and her mum left the iron on, and I accidentally rested my arm against an iron that's on, so I think I might need to go in for some repair work anyway. So
did the iron say it's coming home on the bottom?
Yeah,
that would have taken care of
just
it.
Just been branded.
Which is, as a non-tattoo type guy, which is easier, getting tattooed or getting branded? Do they both hurt the same?
Getting tattooed by a mile, I would imagine. Actually, no, I don't have to imagine I've just been branded. Yeah, no, getting tattooed. No, but look, there's been a lot of discussion as to the whereabouts of this tattoo, what location it's going to be in and stuff as well.
Really, I mean, honestly, look, I know you said, you know, you're not one to make things like this lightly, and it's not like this would be your first tattoo, but I mean, I'm giving you the opportunity to.
No.
I'm a nice guy.
Out of this. This is it. This is coming home, son. This is what you deserve for doubting us.
Okay. Here's what I'll do, because there was no other side to that bet. So now that we know who the opponent is, if Italy wins, I will have a pizza.
Yeah, no, that actually is something I did want to take up, because often bets are obviously made, as you just mentioned, with a wager from both sides, and so I see this is quite unfair. So I think that, look, Mike obviously isn't going to get a tattoo or anything like that there, but I think in the chat box or in the comments underneath, we should be throwing out what his punishment could be if Italy take it home.
You know, I'm willing to do that at this point, because at the time that you made it, it was like, okay, they're not gonna win. There's 15 other teams that could, and I wasn't gonna do a bet that said if England didn't win. But at this point, it's a 1-to-1 situation. So yeah, I'm not above, I'm not beneath. I'm not above, beneath, or beside doing something a little silly, but it's not going to be a permanent thing that impacts my life for the rest of my life.
And it's not like let's be serious. I will uphold to the bet, but it'll be going somewhere unnoticeable, because not only is it a shocking tattoo, but the area I live in within this country, it wouldn't be too kindly taken to. So let's just say that it will have to be discreetly put somewhere. Somebody said,
I'll get a henna tattoo if you want.
Nah, somebody tried to give me that out as well. It doesn't work like that. Anyway, wait, let's talk about football. I think the first thing we should cover, lads, is the Euros, because I've come on here saying I'm going to ridicule England, but I think the most genuine thing I could do is ask Tom, as an England fan, what have you made out of England and Gareth Southgate throughout the entire Euros campaign?
It's been great. It's weird supporting England, obviously, because with being an Arsenal fan, I'm not used to there being kind of any Arsenal presence at all in the England team. And it's when Saka was picked, it was a case of, he's been picked, but I don't think he's really going to play, because we've got Sancho and you've got Rashford and Grealish and Mount and everyone. You're thinking
we had that brief little like Walcott, Wilshere type of thing.
Oxlade-Chamberlain, It wasn't really like, obviously, when Ashley Cole, Sol Campbell were in it, Tony Adams previously as well, Ian Wright back in the day too, of course. So Arsenal used to have plenty of players that were in the England national team, but it is nice seeing Saka come through. That's been kind of the main highlight for me, is seeing Saka get minutes and seeing him play. But to be honest, with Southgate, he gets consistently so much stick, and like so much of the England supporter base have almost willed him to fail at times just to justify their own doubts about Southgate. So seeing him succeed has been great. It's like my very own England Arteta is what it is for me.
So you've been trusting the England process then for 55 years.
Trust the waistcoat is what it is. Trust the waistcoat.
Yeah, and moving on to some of the problems I have with England. And look, before I go on and say this here, I'm not tarnishing an entire nation or the people who live there or anything, but there's just certain things. No, but there's certain. Look, there's certain. I think the funniest thing that I hear from some England fans is turning around and saying, "I don't know why everybody hates England." But lads, for me, I think this was actually discussed on the post-game show. The Danish national anthem being played, and not a minority, the majority of the stadium booing what some would say are the heroes of this competition, regardless of what they did on the pitch in terms of how they responded to the Christian Eriksen thing. How did you two feel as England fans listening to, again, not a minority, the majority of the stadium boo that national anthem? Is that acceptable? Is it banter, or was that just over the top?
Was it the majority though? I mean, it's hard to always tell that sort of thing. I mean, it was loud. It wasn't loud. It wasn't scattered, but as you know from games that have had 8,000, 10,000 people in the entire stadium, it can be loud without being 85% of the people. But that said, I've been I weighed in on it right away, and my initial weigh in is it's classless. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate. It's a symbolic moment that, whatever the symbolism is, you should just let it be. When we do that, when that happens again tomorrow, and knowing the way the Italians treat their national anthem during football matches and international tournaments, that's going to do nothing but fire them up. So I think it would be a strategic mistake. But whether it's banter, whether it's common, yes, it happens all the time. No, it's not just England that does that. I've seen some disgusting pictures from 1990 about the Queen from Italy, ironically enough, when the World Cup was there, and it has happened. It happens frequently. So I think the narrative of it being a purely English thing is a bit unfair. But I don't. Do you think potentially it was so sensitive, not only because that England are often like the pantomime villain of the national team competitions, Tom, but the fact that who it was on the receiving end of it, that it was Denmark, this team that everybody was sort of spurring on as maybe their second choice team of the competition.
I mean, there's going to be idiots everywhere you go. Like you're never ever going to eradicate.
This podcast has showed that more than anything else.
This is a high ground for TGP. But genuinely, you're never going to find a place. I mean, I remember watching a video went viral of a guy standing in an England shirt when the players took the knee, booing to the camera in his own living room. Like, and that's the level that some fans, that's the level that some people will go to voice their very anti that opinion, which is obviously, we know it's utterly ridiculous and stupid is what it is. Let's call it what it is. It is stupidity. The thing is, it is embarrassing, as you say, yes, because I'm an England fan, and obviously I share that in common with these idiots. But you'll never escape that. Like, you guys will know people that you're not friends with that are idiots and are of the same nationality of you. You can't escape that. It is unfortunate when you see so much hate towards England as an entity, but I mean, England on a political scale, which we don't have to go into, are not the most popular in the world either, which makes them very dislikable. I know, I imagine that. So there is that as well. But yeah, I mean, I've loved it as an England fan. Like, just as I've never seen England get to a final in my lifetime. It's and neither of you two. So, or maybe Mike has.
I knew you were going there. You didn't even see the 2010 World Cup because you were just a fetus back then. But
did we still play in white back then? Was that? Yeah, it's great. I've loved every second of the tournament, to be honest. From a football point of view, it's been fantastic.
There's one more thing, and again, I understand that this is definitely a minority, but I am going to move on to something more positive after this. But Mike, we can't discuss that game without discussing what has now been disciplinary action of the laser pen being shone in Kasper Schmeichel's face during the penalties. Stuff like that. Do you think that? I think it came out. I'm not sure whether this is official, but a £25,000 fine has been issued to England. Do you think that is a substantial enough punishment, or do you think that these things need to be sort of more heavily hit to discourage it in the future?
You know, I've been a bit dark on that narrative. I hadn't really followed through exactly what the news is on that. I've certainly seen the pictures and I'm aware of it, but I mean, did they catch the person that did it? I mean, is that possible to do, or is it just?
No, they haven't found it.
Because I'm not busting out the narrative of how do we know it wasn't a Denmark fan. That I'm not going there. I'm just saying,
it would take some pretty sadistic Denmark fans to do that. Guys, look at this.
I'm just, a $25,000 fine to a football club or a nation football association is nothing more than a token gesture, no matter what the offense is. So, is it going to stop somebody from doing it in the final? Who knows? They should be, I guess, cavity searching people better when they come to Wembley, because those sort of things.
I went to Wembley for the tournament, and so at the Italy-Austria game,
wearing an Austria jersey. So
yeah, I was, and I didn't get searched at all. Like, they just waved me straight through. So you could have a laser pointer.
You look so wholesome and
so innocent.
Oh my God, that's Tom Canton from the Gooner Talk.
Yeah, they're like, we don't need to search him. You didn't even have to bust out the "don't you know who I am" thing.
I gave him my TGT business card and he let me straight through. That's what happened.
You were carrying 2 televisions that were live feeding your podcast while you walked in.
Have you seen Marcus Thuram of Borussia Mönchengladbach have to show his FIFA cards to a security guard to let him into the ground?
I love shit like that.
By the way, it took me a while to get this picture up, but you talk about stupid fans doing stupid things. I mean, it is not just British. I mean, this episode, Philadelphia Eagle fans are the worst, and they didn't even allow Santa to get away without being pelted. So yes, it is not a simply English thing, although we did learn it from you.
But let's I think maybe I've bashed them in terms of fandom. Maybe we should move on to something more positive than the player.
Before we move on, just quickly, while we're on the fine thing, I just want to point out, because it's worth, Montenegro got fined 20,000 euros because of their fans' racist chants. Yeah. And England have been fined a greater fee for the laser one. Now, I'm not saying, and this is not me turning around saying, we should be fined less because racism is worth. That's not what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But it's the fact that fines are ridiculous. All they do is put a monetary value next to an action, which is always going to generate an absolutely ridiculous kind of metric system where
we need to come up with that. We need to come up with the official Gooners podcast list of offensive actions and what they should cost people.
But I think what you said there more so than highlights how big England's fine was. It sort of highlights how low the fine for racist actions from supporters are. That I think that would highlight that more so than how hefty of a fine that English is.
That's always been UEFA's most disgusting trait.
But can you put a number on an action like that? If I were to turn around, what does £1 million make racism fair? No, not at all. I think
that's Tom's point. Is that no matter what the money is, it's not. You're not going to solve the problem until you have much greater penalties. So, are we putting this topic to bed?
Yeah, no, I actually
picture to come up.
You knew you weren't making it through the first 15 minutes and 49 seconds without that picture coming up.
If you ever get to know Mike, which is a dangerous thing to ever do, never stay in the same hotel, even if it's in Highbury of all places. I regret doing.
No, you don't. That was one of the three greatest experiences of your life.
You switched your mic again, haven't you?
No,
it's gone crackly again.
Jesus. Well,
Tom does say that to get you to shut up. It's fine. No,
yeah, it was actually fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
Something a bit more positive, Tom, coming out from the England camp that I've seen today is that apparently, I'm not sure whether again this is confirmed or not, but that the players have decided that any financial winnings from the competition will be donated straight to the NHS. How does that make you feel, coming through such a difficult time, not only to see fans starting to get back into the stadium, some sense of normality return, but people in such a position to turn around and maybe show a bit of recognition to the hard work that everybody's put in over the last 18 months?
Yeah, it's great. Obviously, there's been some really good things that have come. I don't know if you saw the video of Mason Mount giving his shirt to the little girl in the crowd. Just little things like that. Just reaffirm your faith in humanity sometimes when, as we've already talked about, the racism that goes on, the booing, the laser pointers, everything like that, and just the controversies. It is good to know that stuff is happening. These footballers get paid a hell of a lot of money. Do they really need a few more £1,000? Probably not. So it's great that they're going to hand that over. Knowing so many people that have been in the NHS and worked on the front lines during the pandemic is knowing what's happened. Our friend at the show, Ellis Mel, who obviously is from the ABW, has been on the front lines at times, and Christopher Fung, who was a member of TGT, has been in America on the lines as well. So, plenty of people that have been involved with all of that stuff, and it's great to see that.
The chat is just raving over your enunciation of NHS. I get that kind of props when I talk about Rosette and NH.
That's what it is.
NH.
NHS. Yeah.
No, yeah, but Ian said H. And
I do say H.
NHS.
Moving swiftly on. I'm trying to be nice, taking up a decent topic. Fucking English.
Coming on.
I'll teach you guys how to spell. I'll teach you guys how to speak our language. Okay.
Last thing on the Euros, boys. Some would say that England have had quite a favourable run throughout the tournament. Now I know that isn't.
Some would say that's the some would say.
Some would say, not me. I would never say such a thing. But getting into the final now, 8 out of their 9
didn't even
games
qualify.
Look, man. Yeah, but we admit we're shite. You think you're class? That's the thing. Anyway. A different beast now, I would say, that you're going to tackle in Italy. I would say probably the most informed side in the tournament from start to finish, consistently very, very good. How are you feeling about England's chances going into the final, Mike? Realistically now, don't be getting your positive hat on.
No, I honestly, you know me. Whenever I have a vested interest in a game or a team, I never feel confident. With all my bluster about it's coming home, I never feel confident that it's actually going to happen. Because the moment I do that, it just goes completely, topsy-turvy. So Italy would be a massive favorite if this game wasn't at Wembley, let's be honest. As it stands, and I've looked at this, I think they are a slight favorite on in the betting odds. And I think that's about I think I mean, very, very slight, and I think that's probably about appropriate. And I think it's going to be a tough one. But the Wembley thing to me, and the emotion and all of that, it's just. And Phil Foden making nasty comments about Arsenal. Apparently, I mean, those things all intertwine together, and I don't think England's going to win tomorrow, but I sure as hell hope that we do.
Foden made that comment about Arsenal. I've not seen that.
I saw something on I don't actually research things. I just go based on I don't research facts. I just I read a headline on Twitter. I don't click on it. But apparently somebody was saying something, unless that was a joke and I just completely missed it. But he called England he called Arsenal a dead team or something like that.
Really?
He's still a nappies, that kid. But
I don't know the context and whether he actually said it or not. But he's got stupid hair.
Tom, you're somebody who I would say has a good tactical nous. Yeah.
God, I forgot to bring my bell down to my basement. Yeah. That would have been a good one for you.
Just do it with your mouth verbally, and we'll edit it in.
Edit it in.
I have a bell app.
I do actually. I just picked up my phone. We'll edit it in because that's what the public is crying for.
Yeah. But Mike just spent 20 minutes putting there.
You have a keen eye for the game, and something that I picked up through the. Thank you, Mike. Through the Denmark game is that I think England struggled with the back three of Denmark. Now I know that Italy tend to go out on paper as a back four, but really the system that they play in, they often leave three at the back. Now, what I would say is that there's a substantial upgrade on the personnel operating that back line for the Italians. How do you feel that? Maybe I would see England maybe against Denmark is quite fortunate to scrape those goals. How do you think they're going to handle tackling, the veterans with the likes of Bonucci and Chiellini?
Ironically, I think they may find it slightly easier, and I don't mean that with hubris. I mean that from a tactical sense, that Denmark play with a back five in that match, and Italy are going to be using a back four in which both fullbacks are their backup options in Emerson and Di Lorenzo, and you're up against a very good English front line. I mean, taking my Arsenal hat off, obviously, Harry Kane's hit form at the right time, scoring goals at the right time. And Chiellini and Bonucci are a brilliant centre-back pairing. That is not what I said. So tactically, the back four suits England way better than Denmark's back five did. But I mean, it's shown throughout the tournament. I mean, you look at how Wales were able to, say, beat Turkey fairly comfortably. I mean, they dominated that game, and against Switzerland, they really struggled, and that's because Switzerland played that back three. So Gareth Bale and Daniel James were really kind of nullified with the side, the left and right centre backs and the wing backs. With Italy, we are hopefully should be able to get quite a bit more joy against them. It's the midfield that worries me, and like Jorginho, Barella, and Verratti. That's the main issue for England. I think is where they're going to feed through straight because if you've watched England, Rice and Calvin Phillips tend to vacate the middle of the pitch quite a lot.
I thought, especially in the first half, the first half, Phillips and Rice were awful. I think that the occasion got to them, and this was something I actually put into our WhatsApp group. It says the difference that Jordan Henderson makes in terms of structure and tempo in that England side is phenomenal. Mike, for you, does one of Rice or Phillips drop out for a Henderson to come in and give that a big game experience? And if so, which one of them would you prefer to be taken out?
How the hell am I supposed to know? Tom's the one that has the tactical.
Well, Tom, just
I don't think you can take Declan Rice out at this point. And Phillips, Jordan Henderson to me I think he's been used appropriately in this tournament. I've never really seen him as a full 90, possibly 120-minute guy. I think when he came in to kind of solidify the win, I think was that the Ukraine game, which it wasn't very close at the end, but I think that was kind of the perfect use of him. Experience, calm, leadership, solidity, but not necessarily your guy from the starting whistle. So I think you dance with the one you brung, or dance with the girl that brung you, or something like that, and and you start soccer. You keep
about.
What
I used to say in 1966. Is that?
That's when I learned that's when I learned English. And I think you're going to see pretty much the same lineup that we've been seeing in the last couple of games that they've been able to, not have to rotate players out for yellows or anything like that. So you'll have 300 million pounds of Grealish, Foden, Sancho, Bellingham all sitting on the bench and coming in the 55th or 60th minute, unless the game just goes in a completely different direction where it's 2-0 and changes have to be made. Early on.
See, this is the thing that I think even maybe a lot of England fans as well are worrying about. Tom, Gareth Southgate in the past has had a tendency to maybe go slightly negative, slightly pragmatic. Some would say that's worked out in his favour as well. He seems to have a good knack for knowing how to navigate these national tournaments. But do you think that going into a game like this, it needs to be positive and not reverting back to that sort of fearful negative approach from England?
I don't think you'll see any difference in the performance. I think it'll be tactical. I think it'll be cagey. I think they'll build up quite slow. They'll be happy to dominate. I think Italy will be happy to give us the ball. So I think they'll think with Berardi or Chiesa, most likely Chiesa, and Insigne on the break, that'll be their best chance to hit I keep saying Arsenal every time I mean saying and I just
I keep saying us when I'm referring to England. So I think that's probably a bigger offense than what you're doing.
But yeah, I think Italy's best chance is going to be on the break. I think England will probably have the majority of possession in the game, and Italy will be happy to let them have that and hit them. So I think you'll see a very cagey first 20 minutes from England. I think you saw that in the Denmark game. It was very nervy. The thing about the Wembley crowd, ironically, it's quite similar to the Arsenal crowd at times because you can sense the nervousness in the stadium really clearly at times. And it's going to be obviously dialed up to 11 tomorrow for the final. So it's going to be a very cagey opening. If there's an early goal, then I think it would set things absolutely on fire in regards to kind of goals and openness of the game. Italy would then need to attack and vice versa. England would really need to press Italy. So if there's an early goal, then ultimately it could be an absolutely mad final. If it's 0-0 at half time, my money would be on extra time and penalties.
I would think that and I haven't looked at the odds on that, but 0-0 at halftime is probably the best bet you can put on this game right now because I just think those two teams are just going to be feeling each other out. Not up, out for the first 45 minutes.
No, we knew what you meant.
That was unnecessary. I don't know.
When anyone says either team was feeling each other out, no, I don't think of anyone that goes, "Oh, did he mean up? Did he mean up?"
You haven't met our chat. Speaking of which, hi, David Ziegler. Daniel Robert in the chat, Demsec, Arsenal Granny. We love having Arsenal Granny in here. We have Arsenal aunt, uncle, and cousin. Dublin Gooner, Aston Mac, be seeing you in a couple weeks. Gary, who has won a team-signed Arsenal kit from Gooners versus Cancer already this summer. Nice. The Mass Gunner, of course, pulling double duty tonight. Saw him in your chat. Now he's in ours. He gets around. He's feeling up our chat now. And of course Fergus, who agrees with you, and therefore I put him in suspension. So,
lads, before we move on to Arsenal-related topics, official predictions for the Euros. We'll start with you, Mike, to give our guest a second to think.
I think it's gonna. Generally, I need much more time to think than our guest do. I think it's going to be 0-0 at the end of regular time. And look, this is kind of my reverse jinx because the more overconfident I get, the worse the outcome is. I think it'll be 0-0, and I see Italy kind of nipping one in added time. I think if it's not 0-0, then it'll be 1-0 to Italy with a penalty from Jorginho, which I did put a cheeky bet on him scoring in this game because if there's a penalty, he's going to score.
Yeah.
Tom?
I think it's going to be 2-0 England. I am an optimistic person, for those that don't know me. Very optimistic, always. I don't know what it is. I just feel like the back four, that tactical thing we talked about, that may really help England. And the fact that England's strength is coming certainly from their wide areas up against Emerson and Di Lorenzo, I just have a feeling that if they get a goal in the first half, that could really seal it. But I am naive. I am always so naive with my predictions. Always. So
speaking of naive, Rich Wilcox, good friend of the podcast, former merchandise winner as well. I know because he's told me he's been an Arsenal supporter. I think sometime within the last 10 years or so. Probably wasn't watching England before he became an Arsenal supporter. I'll go out on a limb. England, I think, has won once in penalties in the last 179,000 years, and that was in the last World Cup against Colombia.
Colombia, yeah. That was that moment is my favorite. I'm very close between that in my lifetime and the Trippier free kick in the semi-final, because the Trippier free kick in the semi-final was a moment where you genuinely believe you're about to watch England go to a World Cup final. So that is an unbelievable moment.
Do you know who used to sound like? Spurs fans.
Oh, here we go. There is so many parallels between England and Spurs.
We won penalties and a free kick, and that's like the two best moments in your supporting history.
I wasn't alive when we won the last tournament.
Yeah,
which is exactly every Spurs fan.
Do you want to know
my huge picture of Hurst on my ceiling that I look up at every night is
Blackburn have got more right to talk about being Premier League champions than England do as being a top national side.
You know who has every right to
anything?
Yes,
Hassan Chowdhury is coming with probably the most naive take, which is that Tom is sexy. So
I mean, this is becoming a theme. I was on Sophie's show and someone did you see the comment on Sophie's show? Someone was saying they were watching from Ohio and they were putting it on the screen in a pub like full of people.
That was actually one of my burner accounts that I normally show up in your chat in about 4 different forms.
Right.
We know who it is always. It's so easy to tell. Anyway, my prediction, I'm going to go for 1-0 Italy. I think England, apart from one game, have actually struggled to score goals, and they've been quite fortunate to get some of the goals that they have. And I think that Italy's defence has been absolutely rock solid. So I'm going to go 1-0 Italy. But lads, moving on to another topic before we get into silly season and transfers, which I know Tom Canton absolutely loves. We're going to talk about.
He loves it long time.
He loves it long time. Huge root on for Arsenal transfers. Anyway, it has been confirmed this week that Arsenal will feature in the Amazon docu series. All or Nothing. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah. Previously featuring Man City and Spurs.
Spurs was a different series because that was Nothing or Nothing. So.
Nothing or Nothing. Yeah.
It's called Zippy.
But lads, mixed reaction to this online, which I'm really, really surprised about. Mike, your initial reaction to that news breaking and the reaction from the fan base.
My initial reaction, which was posted the moment I first saw the news when I woke up yesterday in a cold sweat, was no, please no. However, when you have influencers like Tom Canton coming out with the perspective of a man with the maturity and the life experiences that he has, you start to think about it. And, there are some pros and cons. I actually talked to somebody inside the club yesterday. I'm not going to give out names, but somebody who has a pretty good perspective of what's going on behind the scenes in the club. And he was very interested in my feedback and the feedback of the circles that we hang around on this. And, I said, it's just a huge risk. It's a massive gamble. The club has definitely lost its mojo when it comes to its branding around the world. And no one who's a diehard, especially a local diehard Arsenal supporter, home and away and stuff, wants to hear anything about this. But I'm just going to say it. Their marketability in the world has taken a dive. They obviously weren't able to travel last summer when they probably would have either come to the U.S., the Far East, or both. They, other than the U.S., where there's such a very good network of local and regional and national supporters clubs, there's a lot of places in the world where, no one's going to just jump on the bandwagon of an 8th place mid-table team. And so this was a way of grabbing some money, maybe 10 to 20 million, and getting your name back out there. But my God, does it have the potential to backfire? I said to him, I said, imagine that this had been done through the last season with all the Ozil crap and the paying guys money to go away and
Ozil is that he's missed out on this.
It would have been enlightening, but it would have just, and it would have made for great television for the neutral. But like, I don't know. The club should have more transparency. I've been saying it all along. I said it directly to Vinay in the U.S. in 2019, and he agreed. But I'm not sure. I don't want to slag something off once they finally do something that people have been asking for, which is to be more transparent. But I'm not sure anyone was asking for this kind of transparency. So I'm about 70-30 against it. But my God, will I be watching it? Will I be fascinated? Because, the involvement that we have with this club, it's going to be really enlightening to see what's going on behind the scenes. I hope it is not a stick to beat us with, and I have a feeling it will be.
Tom, with the series, Mike talked about the cry out from the fan base for transparency, and this is obviously I would consider an effort from the club to do just that. Whether Mike says it's the right thing or the wrong thing to do, but in terms of the actual performance of the team, the coaching staff, and most of all the manager, we're talking about a manager in his first job. He's under heavy scrutiny at the minute. There's obviously an effort from the club now to invest some money into transfers. Do you think that this could potentially have a negative effect on the performance in such a critical season for the club?
No. No, not really. I don't really buy too much into that. I think that at the end of the day, it's just going to be cameras. These are guys that have cameras on them all the time. They take cameras of their own lives. They video themselves doing backflips into pools in Greece. I don't think it's really too much of an issue. Sure, they will act different on camera to how they act more naturally. I'm sure they will. Who wouldn't? Pretty much everyone does, other than Mike. But
you would be shocked at how I act when I'm not on camera.
I know how you act not on camera. So I
meant really, in a good way. You would be shocked.
I know. That's what I was saying. I just think that with this, I've been shocked by the hostility towards it online, and a lot of people that I'm friends with and respect online and stuff like that have been very anti this, and I think very kind of hyperbolic in their response to it. Chris from ABW was slamming this, as I saw. Arseblog slammed it as well. Did you
read his blog entry though today?
I haven't read his blog. No, I haven't.
It's actually, as typical from Andrew, it's a pretty nuanced. it's a nuanced take that isn't completely negative or positive, and points out some pretty good points. I would not that he needs. Not that he needs our advertising, but go read it, because
I'll definitely give it a read. And not obviously Andrew's really good for our show and stuff, and it's not a case of disagreeing with him. It's just I just found everything quite hyperbolic in the response immediately. However, it's obviously when you see something immediately, your response then compared to as he's put out an article the next day is going to be very different, because you reflect on things and stuff like that. But
spoiler on the article real quick before you continue the point is kind of this club needs to figure out its identity, and doing that in front of a camera might not be the best way of doing that. The interactions between the players, the bonding, whatever the tough moments. To be quite honest with you, it's just you can't act natural when you're in front of a camera unless you're doing a podcast or something like that. But
then there's the argument that it could potentially aid Arsenal in terms of with the cameras around players like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. People have said that he's someone who thrives with the attention and relishes those sort of opportunities, that maybe Arsenal could actually benefit from this. And the other side of it as well is you talk about that it's such a critical time, and the amount of drama and trying to find its identity. Would Amazon give Arsenal this opportunity if everything was smooth sailing and rosy? That's potentially the appeal to Amazon.
I feel like Arsenal's fan base is so clamoured. Like one of the things I saw people say was that, I think maybe Mike, you even said it a second ago, is that you couldn't really think of anyone who was asking for this, but I guarantee you there are millions of Arsenal fans that have wanted this, really genuinely.
And there are billions of Spurs fans that want this. That's the problem.
And all of this. I mean, it's interesting you say that, because I've not watched the Spurs one. I've not watched it.
Oh my god!
I have. It's hilarious. It's good.
I will try and watch it. I wasn't really ever interested, because I knew obviously during that season Arsenal lost the North London derby at Spurs, and I knew there would be a lot of fanfare, and I wasn't really interested in watching kind of a very
Pochettino getting sacked and Mourinho coming in. I mean, oh my god, it's great television.
But this is another thing as well. Is you talked there, Mike, about the Pochettino getting sacked. You didn't really see very much with that, and at the end of the day, when you look at Arsenal and this doco series coming out, you will not see stuff that the club don't want you to see.
Well, it's going to be. Do you think there's going to be a lot of censorship then? Do you think that?
I do, yeah. I think that Arsenal as an institution are very good, always have their doors closed quite tightly. Yeah. They don't like information going out, and I don't see how this will.
They wouldn't be doing this. They wouldn't be doing this if they didn't have some sort of creative control. I'm not saying it's going to be a promotional video, but. I mean, you know how the Cronkies operate. They're not going to want
obviously the club does have some form of creative control, because otherwise the Mauricio Pochettino situation would have been in there during the Spurs documentary series, which it wasn't. So obviously,
how do they cover it? They just say he's been moved on.
They just acted like Jose Mourinho was still Mauricio Pochettino. They like they superimposed. They superimposed his face over top so that no one would notice. It was great.
But they literally, in seriousness, they just showed it as a news clipping, like a screen run of the news on Sky Sports that he had left the club. Right. So there was no sort of inside information or inside camera shots of what actually happened in those situations. So yeah, it's going to be what they want you to see. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure. My opinion on it, I think it could be a good thing potentially. You don't
that documentary didn't do much for Dele Alli's career. I'll tell you.
No, and that's the only thing
he looked like a right chump.
I think that the Arsenal players, maybe it's because we're supporters, but they seem like quite a likable bunch in terms of the core youngster group, which I think they'll focus on, the likes of Kieran Tierney, Emile Smith-Rowe, Saka, and also I think as well something that you'll see is that the club will try to impress now. Maybe this will put added pressure for them to do some more business in the transfer window.
And that is something that I didn't think this up myself, but it occurred to me today that, the Cronkies are going to want to make a splash, and this, there will be a madness that occurs or that we try to pull off. To be honest with you, it probably won't be a madness that occurs. It'll be a televised, documented, we tried kind of thing, and it wasn't our fault that it didn't work out, but we almost got Mbappe to come here.
Do you think this affects how other teams will treat us in the market? Do you think they'll turn around in negotiations, be like, look, we know you've got this Amazon documentary and you want our player, we're going to chuck on an extra 0 to his price tag?
I think that happened.
So a £10 million pound player will become £100 million pound.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that happens anyway, regardless. It's Arsenal, especially when you're shopping domestically as well. I think that there's that automatic sort of big six tax that's thrown on players. So, as Mike said, with the money being as small as it is, in context, obviously 10 to 20 million is a lot of money in our terms, but not football, no. So I couldn't see it, but I think it will.
With the Amazon money, we can finally pay the rest of the players to leave. It's going to be great. You know what team I would love to see a companion documentary for? It would be Marseille. I want to be able to track behind the scenes how Guendouzi's trying to stain Saliba's his love for Arsenal, quote unquote. So
they'll be desperate to get that out before they start filming. By the way, they'll be desperate to move Saliba on before they. I was speaking to Sophie earlier on the Highbury squad, and she said that she read somewhere that it starts in 2 weeks filming.
Yeah. I think the first major part of it is going to be the trip to Orlando. So watch the first episode, because I am quite likely to be involved.
Anyway,
when you show them back, when they show them backstage, and you see all the credentialed media and bald Jewish people and all the people that get put in the same area, it's just going to be a mic show. So you got to tune in for that one.
Just multiple mics. But look, lads, I think it would be a sin to have Mr. Transfer himself on the podcast and not talk about some transfers. Tom has done about 500 morning transfer shows in Arsenal.
Fabrizio Romano's coming on. What?
You ain't got enough money to have him on your podcast.
Nah. No Villa in Spain either. Anyway, lads, first.
Oh, that's the wrong bell. Sorry.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck. Like a
stupid
Notre
bell.
Dame. Anyway, Nuno Tavag. Is that how you say his name, Tom?
Tavag.
See, but before we move on to transfer,
it's Nuno Tavag. My son and his friend are about 50 feet away from me playing FIFA, and they love Derek Ray and Bruno Fernandes and all that. So Nuno Tavares is really Nuno Tavage.
It's Tavage, yes.
Tuvage.
Before we move on,
be careful.
You can't say that on your podcast, but you can come on ours and talk about Tavage all you want.
I've got quite an issue with this.
Twitter feed.
I've got quite an issue with this pronunciation thing. All right, it's
He just became my favorite player. I'm getting his name on the back, and I'm doing it phonetically.
But I don't get it, right? Because when you say my name, you don't say it with an Irish accent, do you? Or I don't say it with an English accent, like your name with an English accent.
You have no idea how I say your name.
We wouldn't be able to say it with any other accent.
He's old Nuno Tavers. Anyway, Tom, young 21-year-old left back.
Nunners.
Shut up, mate. 21-year-old left back from Benfica. Coming in as backup to Kieran Tierney, with saw names like Kieran Trippier. Actually, he was considered as well at one point. Ryan Bertrand, probably being one of the main links. Are you happy to see the club step away from those sort of older mold players and maybe go for a younger demographic of player like Nuno?
Demographically, I'm happy to see the move away from your Willians, your David Luiz types of signings for someone that just needs to be depth for us. I think it's a really good signing in that sense. I do have questions about him personally. I mean, the tactical breakdown I did on him revealed a lot of concerns about him. A good friend of mine, Jose Miguel, who lives in Lisbon, did the show, and he is concerned. His basic opinion was that he's not good enough to be a backup, let alone like Arsenal starting left back. He felt that he needed a loan further down the Portuguese table to kind of get really into that level. I mean, you look at some of the tweets that have come out from Benfica fans. They're happy to see the back of him. And that doesn't bode well. I'm hoping that and I said this on Soph's show, I said, I hope that this is kind of fuel for the fire for him to really kind of prove people wrong. He is in a different environment. He's under different coaches. Whether or not those coaches are going to change or improve in any way, we'll wait and see. But it's important that we got a different demographic of signing in, so that, say, in 2 years' time it's not worked out, we've got sell-on value. We can move him on. We can then bring another player in if it hasn't worked.
Yeah, and then
what are his weaknesses, though? Like what? Because I remember when didn't see I came up with a good question.
With that, actually,
when we brought in Santos, everyone was like, "We're bringing in a Brazilian." Yeah. I don't care that he was playing in Turkey. Don't worry about that, or wherever he was playing before that. We're bringing in a Brazilian, and then he absolutely sucked at everything other than driving fast. But I mean, are they the same weaknesses? Are we redoing Andre Santos again?
That's good. What can we expect is probably a better.
What can we expect? What can we expect to go wrong? Because we need to be prepared to bitch.
Let me ask you, based upon the defenders that we've had in the past, what is one of the key issues that we have had from our defenders?
That they suck at defending.
Yeah.
Right. And specifically, what do they do?
They get caught up. They get caught too far up the pitch.
Yes, so that's one of them, and the other one is making absolute ridiculous decisions in defensive situations. And Tavag has that issue. Like, he is not defensively sound. He makes mistakes. He gives the ball away in his own half. Like, that is a problem that he has and that he will need to improve and try and remove from his game. But there's all the potential with him offensively. That's his big strength, is attacking down the flank. It's weird because I think he suits a left wing back role more than a solid left back role.
And do you think that his strengths in his attacking play compensates for those defensive weaknesses?
No, because I wouldn't go for a right back this summer that we desperately need just because they're really good at attacking. Like, I had my reservations about bringing in Hakimi. I think if you've got a world-class going forwards fullback, it then justifies going for that risk, because what you lose in defence, you genuinely really do gain in that area. But Tavag is not developed enough in an offensive sense to justify having someone that makes mistakes at the back. He's a young player. He's 21.
When he gets caught too far up the pitch, though, and we're exposed at the back, we have a very easy answer for who can cover his position.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a big thing about who we bring in.
All of a sudden, Xhaka became a 60 million pound player for us, because he's going to be able to play left back in the middle of the game, backing up our left back, who's backing up our left back. So I think that's a great strategy after all.
Yeah.
No, it's a strange
Is this
one.
is this the end for Cedric then, or is Cedric our?
I hope so.
But Mike, when you look at this signing, as Tom said, somebody with obvious sort of gaps in his game, somebody who's not fully developed, isn't the finished article, and you're looking at these players, I think as well. I think Fabrizio Romano had just tweeted out a minute before we went live that apparently the deal for Sambi Lokonga has been completed now, that medical has been passed, a 5-year deal or something has been signed. Do you look at these players and are you now starting to worry that these are the type of players that we can expect as a whole for this transfer window, that we're going to have an underwhelming transfer window when it's supposed to be one of the most important in recent memory?
I don't think that these are bad signings at all, as long as they are not our signings geared towards improving the nailed-on starters on this team. I mean, Lokonga in the starting 11 next season, no, but I mean, we need better players in the second 11, if you want to call it that, who come in to deputize in the case of injuries, who can come in as substitutes. And Lokonga, by all estimates, know nothing about the guy. But he seems to be a really promising.
Well, let's learn a bit
prospect, as opposed to Tavares, who apparently is the worst defender in the history of Portugal.
I think that's a good thing to do.
Tavag might end up stinking.
Jesus Christ!
Oh God,
that's another good avenue to go down. Not the Tavag thing, but Tom, asking from somebody who has obviously done his research on the player. What can we expect from Sambi Lokonga? What type of player is he, and what sort of level would you put him at the minute in his career?
I feel like there's going to be a lot of Saliba expectation around Lokonga now, as in, if he doesn't get a game in the first 10 Premier League matches, there's going to be an absolute outcry for where is he? Where's Lokonga? That's exactly what's going to happen.
Free Lokonga.
Free Lokonga, yeah. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, everyone's just completely jailed at this point. There.
And the fact of the matter is that is he a Premier League level player right now? No, he's not. He still needs to develop. He still needs to improve. He's very good. He's still good he's a very good Belgian league player right now for a 21-year-old. He's excellent. But he needs to improve. I mean, you look at the statistical drop-off that Sander Berg experienced going from Genk to Sheffield United. It was absolutely ridiculous, the way his stats dropped off. I imagine it will be the same for Lokonga in obvious ways. He will come up against much tougher oppositions. But in terms of his style, he's a really good kind of hybrid of a 6/8. He can play defensive midfield, but he is good in the opposition's third. Loves playing a direct pass, trying to find his teammates in the final third of the pitch. Really tries to dictate play from the midfield when he's on the pitch for Anderlecht, and has been really, really good for them in that position. And he's obviously got a really good trait of being a leader. He's held the captaincy there before, and whilst he's not the out-and-out captain for Anderlecht, he has been captain for them at times in games, and has that element that I think we see with the Ruben Neves link as well. He's looking for guys that have been young leaders at clubs, and I think that's a good move for us going forwards.
And even sticking with you there, Tom, as well, because something we've talked about is two players who are likely coming in for backup or rotation. Do you think that the strategy for Arsenal this season, we often hear people saying about the likes of maybe the Willian deal last season, even I think a lot of us at the time were in favour of that, and we all said it would add good depth to the squad. But do you think it's a case of now, at this moment in time, with the limited amount of games we have with no European football, that the club now, after these two signings, need to be targeting people who are guaranteed starting 11 quality in this team, upgrades on the starting 11 position rather than just improving the squad depth as a whole?
I mean, other than goalkeeper, yeah, 100%. I mean, they look like they're going for a homegrown backup keeper, so that looks like that position's where they're moving. But I mean, central midfield, the Xhaka replacement, right back, attacking midfield, or creative midfield, or this number 8 hybrid, or however they want to play it, that position. And obviously Ben White as well looks to be the other kind of main guy. So if Arsenal go out and say this window, you get in Tavag, you get in Lokonga, you get in a homegrown goalkeeper, and on top of those kind of depth players, you get a starting right back, a starting central midfielder, a starting creative midfielder, and Ben White, you'd have to say that's been arguably our best window for God knows how long.
Since January, where we just got paid people to go away.
Yeah.
But now, the homegrown keeper, was Matt Ryan homegrown? I know he's Australian. No. I know he's Australian, but I didn't know if the age thing was okay. So that wouldn't, because I don't really understand why that didn't happen unless he was adamant about needing to be in the number one.
No, I think the homegrown thing was more of an issue. We were already on the verge of our quota, and I think it was starting to become a real problem. And I think as well with the lack of European football this year as well, there's less opportunities and probably some of Matt Ryan's stature as well.
I heard the Onana thing might be back on a little bit again, but that just seems like seems like one that's far fetched and not going to happen. But
I think the guy we just
re-signed,
I was leaving. That's what the Onana thing was.
Yeah,
we just re-upped one of our young goaltenders, correct? Our keepers. Yeah, but he's you would imagine he's a few years away, or he'll be here for 14 years, like Damian and suddenly Emi Martinez was, and then we'll sell him for 20 million.
Like something Tom mentioned there, and this is sort of moving more away from transfers. He was talking about the potential of an incoming creative midfielder, but something I wanted to talk about was the fact that people were seemingly fine with Ben White coming in and Saliba being pushed out on loan. But when you look at the amount of attackers we have, do we not potentially block the path or the development of Emile Smith-Rowe this season by bringing in a creative midfielder that is sort of maybe going to want to guarantee to start? And I know that he has played out wide, but when you have the competition of Gabriel Martinelli, Saka, Pepe, Aubameyang, the spaces are limited. Is that a position that you think that maybe we need to put a bit of faith into Emile Smith-Rowe and potentially get an understudy to him?
Well, I mean, the question really begs to ask, was it a problem that we had Odegaard here for the second half of the season? Because I don't think that it was. I actually was a bit worried about, now Smith-Rowe's playing really well for us, kind of saved our season starting on Boxing Day, and now we're bringing in Odegaard. Is that gonna stunt Smith-Rowe's ascendancy to the starting 11? And it just worked. It worked out with the two of them there. Of course, we also had 2 games a week, and we're not going to have this for the season to come. So I think you have to think in terms of depth and competition, and not look at Smith-Rowe as being the durable every single game number 10 no matter what, to the point where you won't even buy another person who has the potential to do well. If you could get, as much as I don't really understand how quality this guy is, if you can get an Aouar in or something like that, no, that doesn't block the path of Emile Smith-Rowe. It just gives us more options. It gives, and Smith Rowe is flexible enough to play on the left if he needs to, and it gives us the ability to kind of maybe get rid of some of get rid of either Aubameyang or Lacazette, which I know the ship has sailed on Aubameyang being sold this summer. Mm-hmm. As much as I would actually prefer to see that happen, I hate to say that's not going to happen. I mean, you've not heard any whispers about that, Tom, have you?
No, I mean, from an Arsenal perspective, striker's not on the agenda right now. It's just not.
Yeah, I mean, the Edouard thing's not. I mean, we've got Balogun waiting to come through as well. So I'd love to see a creative midfielder, a Madison, Aouar, one of those guys come in. I'm more concerned about who's going to play next to Thomas Partey. I'm more concerned about whether that's Bissouma, whether that's Neves, whether that's
we have somebody in the squad at the minute, and maybe the last one before we go on to user questions in the chat, if you want to start throwing them into the chat. Tom, Joe Willock, it has all seemed to go a bit quiet around the future of Joe Willock, and where do you see his future lying, and what avenue do you think is best at this stage for the club to take with him?
It's such a tough one, isn't it? I mean, every time I talk about Joe Willock, I end up coming back to the Ainsley Maitland-Niles situation because
What did you say?
I call him that now because he's.
You've matured to where you don't call him Ainsley anymore.
It's the Smith now, as I've recently found out, is the new one.
Well, I'm talking about Mainsley. Mainsley was kind of an affectionate nickname, and now he's not really part of the club anymore. So you stop calling.
I was. Ever since he went on loan to West Brom, it started to wane, the nickname, and then not Wayne Dinklage, by the way.
Wayne Alex Kleb Remontada Dinklage Twitter suspended Wayne.
VVV.
VVV get off Twitter.
Yes.
The most suspended man in social media, Wayne.
Because it was linked to my previous account.
I picked up the wrong phone of my 9 phones and it accidentally linked together. And no, I didn't call anyone a see you next Tuesday or anything like that.
So whilst it was waning during the West Brom loan period, but when he did that interview and just basically just crapped all over the club, I was like, "Yep, you're Ainsley Maitland-Niles now. You've lost Mainsley." So yeah, but that situation with obviously Wolves offering around, I think it was £18 million to take him from us. And then us not taking that and then seeing what happened, it looks ridiculous that we didn't take that deal in that moment. And so if Newcastle were to come in, say, with a 25 to 30 million pound bid for Joe Willock, like I would look at that and take it very seriously. There's always part of me that goes, wow, that 6-month stint was incredible. And if you can because what Arsenal have lacked for so long is a goal-scoring midfielder. We've lacked someone that tries to get into the box. We've lacked someone that really has kind of aerial threat from midfield in the box, which Joe Willock has. And if we can get Joe Willock playing in the right position, then great. The problem is Steve Bruce gave him so much freedom and so much kind of a responsibility. You go and do what you do best, Joe, and play in that free role in midfield. And I don't think that Arteta is going to do that with Joe if he does play him, and that's the problem.
Yeah, it kind of reeks. It kind of reeks of a situation where he has had the absolute top run of form that he could possibly have within his capabilities. He was in the right situation, given the license to do exactly what he could and wanted to do with almost zero pressure on him. It's it's a sell high type of situation in my eyes. You don't often see that continue. I mean, if we had only known that Emi Martinez was going to be the world's best keeper on an 11th place Premier League team this season, then maybe that would have proven me wrong. But we have a good loan spell at Newcastle does not mean an incredible future at Arsenal. It just doesn't. And Joe Willock has been here long enough that I don't know that he's changed and transformed as a player mentally, physically. I think that his market value will never be higher than it is right now, unless we send him out on loan again for the entire season this season and he repeats his form, not scoring every single game, but if he just does the business for Newcastle or some similar team again this season, then he'll increase his sale price. But if he comes back here and doesn't play every game or doesn't play well every game or goes on another loan and reverts to form, we've just taken somebody that might have been 30 million and taken him right back down to being 7 or 8.
Yeah. Yeah. You're muted.
This is my favorite. This has been my favorite part of the podcast.
I'm not muted. I'm just a very good mime. No, it's a tricky one because I think we're all still quite shell shocked from the likes of Serge Gnabry and stuff like that, and I don't think that should tamper into the club's mind also when they're looking at a player like Joe Willock. I often say I think it's like the Wilfred Zaha effect where Wilfred Zaha absolutely flawless at Crystal Palace, moves to Manchester United, really struggles, and then goes back to Palace and flourishes once again. I think that Joe Willock has maybe just found his level, and I think it would be within the club's best interest is to maybe move him on at the minute. But Mike, that's when I'm going to hand over to you, buddy, and you can tackle some user questions before we.
Yeah, let's. The chat is 45 strong right now. Thanks for watching us. You talked, Tom, about how teams would add a 0 when we talk about the people in our chat. Compared to your pod and Sophie's pod, we actually delete a 0. But 45 is great. We love everyone in here. Some new people have come in here: Papa Boyle, Dubber Ducky, Taib the Legend, and of course Soph herself is in here doing bits while she's sunbathing in sunny SoCal. She sent me some pictures. Anyway,
you couldn't help yourself.
She's the one person I could say that about that won't be like, you are a disgusting creep. And I know that she has no interest in me that way. So David Ziegler. Well, we'll determine whether he's David or David because I put this up without even reading it. If Grealish came to Arsenal, should we let him keep that young Keira Knightley haircut or force him to grow out a full petit Mane? I'm saying Mane.
Mane.
Yeah, Mane. Owen.
Me?
Please, yes.
Far in the weekend, those Lions. Wow, the Mane's on them. Jesus.
Do I look like the type of person that should be giving anybody advice on her? Neither should you. Put it to Tom.
Really?
Petit Mane sounds like something I ordered at the steakhouse the other day.
You're the only one. He's bald. I look like an X-ray. You have a decent hairline.
I'm voluntarily bald though.
Yeah, look, yeah. How the fuck do you ask?
I'm also voluntarily fat.
How the fuck do you ask your barber for that haircut?
I haven't gone to a barber since the Carter administration. How do you think I get all the extra money for my for paying guests like Tom?
But even to jump over from a question, I'll make a question out of David or David's question. I get it done to me all the time, David. So don't criticize me.
He's David when he says something stupid. He's David when he has a brilliant question.
Tom, when you see names like this being bummed about, Jack Grealish, James Madison,
what? Sorry,
bummed about. It's a thing.
Bandied about.
Bummed about, man. Don't you dare question my local vernacular.
Is it bandied? Tom,
anyway,
the teacher, is it bandied or is it bonded?
Banded.
Banded about. Look,
banded about. Yeah.
Don't make me speak your language and then criticize me for doing it wrong. I'm joking. Anyway, being banded about. Names like Madison, Grealish, players like this, that sort of ilk. Do you think that it's realistic to think of Arsenal maybe going for targets like that this window, or do you think that we really need to lower our expectations to a more realistic standard?
Grealish is, I think Grealish is purely a revenge tactic of all these Emile Smith Rowe bids. That's all I think.
Why don't we put in a £25 million bid for him? Like honestly, what would that do? I mean, it'd be less
breaks
obnoxious
every bridge
than
with Aston Villa. That's what it does.
Are those bridges not already breaking with Emi Martinez basically whispering in all of our players' ears and then making banding about derisory bids for our best players? I mean, at this point, put in that bid. It's less embarrassing than the £40 million and £1 bid that we made for Suarez.
I think this. Trust me, it's irritating me the amount of cocky Aston Villa fans I've had in my comment sections of late when I've done stuff about Mill Smith Rowe. It is frustrating, but I mean the proof will be in the pudding when he signs that new deal, which we are expecting to happen very soon. But the Grealish is unrealistic. Maddison's a really weird one because Leicester would demand upwards of 60 to 70 million quid for him. But I don't know what it is. It's probably being completely influenced by the reports that you're seeing come out on social media from not questionable, but
war chest.
Yeah, and that's we don't really know what Arsenal's budget is. Like we get told different figures. No one knows. Anyone reporting a specific figure is talking out their backside. Like, there's no way you can report a specific figure of how much Arsenal have got to spend.
No, you can't. You can't. And we have to sell players before we come back. War chest and transfer kitty are probably. It makes me want to punch a hole through this wall right here, which will end my marriage. But I hate those things.
It's a sensitive marriage. It's just a hole in the wall.
Let me just say that would not be the first part of the arrangement of things that would end the marriage.
Is your house just full of holes?
That would be the tipping
one
point.
more fucking hole, and I'm out with the kids.
This is the one wall that remains. That's why I'm potting here instead of in my office, because I just punched the entire walls down, and now it's outdoors.
Well, here's one for yourself, Mike, to calm you down before you start punching plasterboard. Complete hypothetical, but would you take Kasper Schmeichel over Bernd Leno?
I would take Peter Schmeichel over Bernd Leno at this point, apparently, because Leno is awful. And I'm shocked that question came from Melisma and not from Daniel Robert, because we just know that Daniel just needs to see this. So I'm going to give it to him. He needs to see this. He needs to see this, and this. So, look, the Leno thing for me, it's one of those things where there's just enough going on with the whole. Maybe he wants to go to Germany. Maybe he might not want to go to Germany. He might have set his sights on being here until he's 38 years old and being an Arsenal legend, if he possibly can be. But it just seems like the beginnings of a breakup are starting to happen. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as we bring in somebody of equal or better quality, then I'm not super loyal to the Birdman.
Schmeichel's a fantastic player, and I think he proved that throughout.
Although,
the
how is Schmeichel's partner compared? Because Leno's.
That's how we rate players, is how attractive their spouse is.
Right. That's one of the reasons why I don't want Rob Holding to leave the club. But sure. I mean, it has nothing to do with his play on the pitch. So, yeah, I mean, if I'll do some research on Schmeichel in that regard, and then I'll tell you what my opinion is.
Perfect. Get back to us with that.
God, I never heard you laugh like a 4-year-old girl before.
Yeah, that's the way I laugh, man. I'm sorry. Tom, which one of the players that we've been linked with? Hey, what the fuck?
Their spouses, please.
No, not their spouse. No, it wasn't that. No, it is here. Look, this is actually quite a good question, because stop clicking stuff, whoever that is. Whoever that is. There's only one other person here that can click it. Which one of the players who has been linked to Arsenal is your least favourite? You've done a lot of shows, man. Which one has frustrated you the most?
Nuno Tavag.
I was going to say that Nuno Tavag.
the one that we signed. That's the
one we signed. Yeah. Him and Awar, probably those two. So there you go.
Awar? Why Awar?
I've done so many shows where I get absolutely ripped apart for just not really being that big of a fan of him. Like, I just don't like his lack of attitude, as Jeremy Smith says. The fact that he just stinks of an Ozil type of character. He really does. Like someone that is a luxury player, that's performance will drop when we're playing badly, that will go missing in 9 out of 10 games. Like, I'm just not interested in a player like that. I want someone that's going to, like Ødegaard did when he came in, like in that game against West Ham and against Olympiacos and against Spurs, just games that he'll really grab by the scruff of the neck and take the opposition no matter how we're playing. And Awar, it just isn't. I think Awar is such an overrated player and someone that we were desperate to see sign last summer. And because obviously we're being linked with him again, and now he's available for half the price, we have to go get him.
Well, there's a reason. Well, okay, look, there could be reasons that aren't footballing reasons why he's available for half the price, as we know about the world economy and the football economy. But it's I just got distracted because my son just put this in here about Noon Tavag. But what were we talking about? Oh, Awar. Like, how often do you kind of see a flair attacking player from Ligue 1 come in and be instantly successful? I mean, Pepe is a good example of someone who might finally be coming good.
Dimitri Payet.
Payet has always been one of the examples of the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah, but you moved to West Ham. Like, if Awar went to an Aston Villa, like in which I look at as kind of the West Ham of when they were then,
right? That would work.
Stand out. But I don't think it would work at Arsenal.
Tell me this, Mike touched on there the sort of the financial impact of the pandemic has had on clubs, Tom, and probably one of the most heavily hit clubs in terms of the top clubs is Barcelona. We see at the minute they can't even register any of their signings. They can't even re-register Lionel Messi. Is there the potential to take advantage of their situation and go in and pluck some gems on the cheap from a club that literally needs to sell? I think they have to shift 200 million from their wages. So they do. Is there any players there in particular that you would be open to maybe Arsenal taking advantage of and going in and getting?
Pedri kid's all right, isn't
he? He's not bad.
You're never going to get him. But I mean, obviously both right backs, Dest and Emerson, are two players. I mean, I know they've only just signed Emerson, but
where is Dest from again? What country?
United States, fella. You should really know that. That's some really poor knowledge from you.
Yeah. No, I may just have known that. I was setting you up.
But he came from Ajax, so
I don't care where he came from. I care what.
I've got an interest in seeing the North American sides, and I really am paying attention to Canada a lot, actually.
Why?
I have a lot of interest in the Canadian. I mean, I text Theo Corbiner today. He's playing.
Who is the best Canadian footballer of all time? And
Terrence and Phillip.
Here's a hint. His son played with my son in youth football.
I mean, I thought the best player is actually the one that's playing right now, and Alphonso Davies. But you tell me,
I forgot he was Canadian. So yeah, you're probably right. Dwayne De Rosario was pretty badass for Canada.
Was he a striker?
Yeah, and he played the MLS
side.
Yeah,
as opposed to what?
They have teams, don't they?
No. Only just
they
now.
They have teams, don't they? I love that. That was my favorite segment. Canada has teams, right? They have two teams in the MLS, basically. I think it's two. Vancouver,
but they're making their own.
And Montreal. So there's three.
They're not making their own league now as well.
They play in Major League Soccer.
No, they've got CSL now. Do you not know your own?
Are you serious that they? Well, I don't claim to be North American.
Yeah, CSL is now a thing. It's been.
I'm American British.
Canadian Super League is there.
I have actually not heard of that.
Yeah, it's basically what happened is obviously they used to draft a lot of people through the college systems into like Vancouver and Montreal and Toronto, but to improve the Canadian football is what I'll call it, is that they've now created a Canadian Super League, which means you've now got proper teams with academies, with facilities, which means a lot of Canadian football is going to improve, and like you'll see more Davies and Jonathan Davids coming through, and Theo Corbin, who's now at Wolves and is playing in the Gold Cup, and I'm hoping to nab an interview of him at some point. So
I'll try to set you up with that. Are the
I'll just WhatsApp him, man.
So are the three teams that play in the MLS from Canada going to remain in the MLS, or are they going to succeed? Oh, that's good. All right.
But it's amazing that
this episode is called Mike Figures Out How Football Works.
It's amazing that it's such an untapped resource when you consider, like how well off of a country and how densely populated it is. It's a massively growing sport.
It's not densely populated at all. Honestly.
No, well, I lived in Toronto, man. Do you know where I'm from?
Toronto is densely populated, but it's literally 45% of the Canadian population lives in Toronto or Montreal.
This is the last question I'll throw to you, Tom. From Dubber Ducky, who plays right?
Why are you laughing at that?
I knew that
because that's just so Gooners podcast is that we have people called Dubber Ducky. You have like Alessandro, you have like these fancy names, and then we have Dubber Ducky.
Who?
I don't know. I was just trying to come up with something as pretentious as I could think of. You have Henrik Ho Jakobsen, and then sorry, I just lost your question.
No, it's good. Don't worry, I'm prepared for your fucking shit show. Here we go. Who plays right wing next season, Saka or Pepe?
Pepe, 100%.
And so where's Saka's role then? Is he kind of alongside? Does he play that kind of central role that we've seen him play in certain situations, or is he your guy on the left then?
Yeah, he's my guy on the left. So my starting front three is Aubameyang, Pepe, and Saka as the front three. I think that Saka for me is whilst he's doing well on the right and he's playing there for England right now. I think that's mainly because Sterling's of course on the left, but for me, if you take Pepe and Saka as wingers, they're different. Pepe for me is much more a goal-scoring tight wide forward that needs to play a little bit more incisive because he's been far too isolated on the right wing. Saka is for me going to develop into more of a creative kind of wide player in comparison to more of a goal scorer, and so I think giving him that ability to play on his left foot and be able to play those low-driven crosses on his left foot is going to be better for him. So I would play Saka left, Pepe right. Yeah.
Well, my front three was going to be Martinelli, Balogun, and Reece Nelson. So it shows what I know. But I actually wouldn't mind seeing Pepe on the left to allow Saka to play on the right. I mean, we've seen how effective he can be there, especially with Tierney behind him.
I think it was a great experiment to put him in. To get him into form, to play him on his natural side, but I think he was flourishing towards the end of last season, and also I think that's one of the main reasons that we need to upgrade in that right back position. Because for me, I think the downfall of Pepe was often Hector Bellerin's weaknesses. I think it's definitely the £72 million investment in the guy. We're going to have to start utilising him or trying to play him into some sort of form. And at the end of this season, if it's still looking like it's not working, then maybe it's time to address that.
Sounds good.
That's what you think, yeah. you're entitled to that opinion, which I didn't really listen that closely to. But
no, I knew you.
So Taib, who's one of my favorite people because flattery will get you everywhere. Tom, do you think that Arsenal should look at buying a new striker in the January window? Kind of asked and answered already, but and what I like about this is that he's asking about the January window.
Oh no! Oh, they're so young.
Says the fetus.
Yes, says the fetus. No, I don't think so. I think we'll wait until the end of the season. Lacazette's contract will expire. He'll leave. Aubameyang will have 1 year left on his deal. We'll then look to bring someone in. It depends how Balogun develops this season. I don't know if he's going to stay or go out on loan. I think a loan would be a really good move for him. But I don't know then who is back up to Aubameyang and Lacazette. So it's a
Balogun, Muller.
Muller's going out on loan. So
I'd actually like to see that. Yeah. Henrik Ho Jakobsen. Worst haircut in the Arsenal squad. Aubameyang doesn't count because it's too easy to pick him. So worst haircut other than Emile Smith-Rowe in the Arsenal.
Before his hair transplant, probably Rob Holding.
Did he get a hair transplant? Did he go to Wayne Rooney?
I liked it because it was so relatable. Worst haircut. Willian?
Oh.
No, yeah. But it's like, you always know that one kid in school that and you meet him now and he's still got the same, short back and sides, please. And it's like, have a bit of variety, but he change it up every now and then. But Willian has just had the fro for so long.
He hasn't really changed it up.
He used to rock the cornrows when he was playing in Russia.
It used to be Mkhitaryan with his little really bad 2 holes on the side of his head.
Willian. Everyone has 2 holes on the side of their head, though. I mean, that's not
but it was really
They're called ears, Tom. Come on, man, get with it. I may not know about North American football, but you should know about ears. You rely on ears every single day for your job.
Why do I lie myself? Why do I do it?
By the way, worst is the whole William thing reminds me of our dear friend Aston Mack, who just did the anti-William by actually shedding the Mane that he's known for having. And yeah, so that's not good. Question for me. I have to obviously answer this question, and the chat is still going strong. So we got maybe 5 more minutes until Tom actually falls asleep on the podcast.
I'm struggling so much. I've been doing 8 a.m. shows for so long.
Whose controversial off-pitch video was more cringe, Tavag or Saliba?
Stop saying it like that. Really, seriously, I swear to God.
It's not turning you on. All right. I haven't seen the off-pitch video from Tavares.
Have you not? It's really bad.
I haven't either.
What did he do? Paint a picture for us in the way that only you can.
So I suppose I can. Basically, he has dogs, and his
that kissing video.
Yeah, and they're just like licking the inside of his mouth.
I didn't know that was him. Yeah, that's a bit too Humberish for me, and I might already hate the guy. I have to say it because Humber
dogs.
Adam
I've seen some worse videos involving. No, that's not cool.
Stop.
Those German videos I saw that in college. The Adam was fine, but Humber was basically the downfall of Alexis as a footballer and as an Arsenal player, and I will never forgive him. So if Tavares is going to be the same dude, are we going to get a banner up on the ring around the Emirates with Tavares' dogs on them? I don't know how you could get more cringe than Saliba's video, though. I mean. And
that's one of the worst things I've ever seen.
A brief moment of seriousness. I wonder how much that video actually has to do with Arteta's opinion on it. Like, maybe I'm being naive and thinking that it has anything to do with it, but it
did happen quite a bit after. Well, it came out a long way after what happened.
Well, he had probably seen a private viewing of it though before that.
But. Yeah, maybe. I don't think it would have helped, and it got, because obviously the way football is, there's so much news so fast. It didn't get forgotten, but it got moved on from pretty quickly. I think that the big issue with Saliba is, 1, he wasn't Arteta's player, wasn't signed by him and his entourage. 2, there was a lot of issues with the French Cup final and how he reacted to not being allowed to go there, and 3. The way he reacted during his time in the under-23s was supposedly not great. I understand that. I mean, I'd be peed off if I was being thrown into the under-23s after costing 28 million quid. Well, I'd be pretty done in about that. And then obviously now the video that's come out and all the interviews that he did. I mean, when you start to tally them up, he's done quite a lot. There is quite a lot of things. But yeah.
But we can all agree on one thing, that Nuno has definitely got off to a woof start.
Oh, God. I think you're barking up the wrong tree with that one.
Yes.
The last question, and I say this knowing that someone who's sunbathing in Los Angeles right now popped into the podcast, probably still not here, Soph, but just in case Soph is here, this one's for you from Squatty Dempsek. Will Callum Chambers, with an extra L in it, be the main right back? It's well noted that I am a fan of Callum Chambers. I've had pictures with him. I've questioned my sexuality over him. He does not like. He's confirmed for us in person that he does not like pineapple on pizzas. So I mean, I couldn't be more in his corner. But as the main right back, Tom, would you? And do you see it happening?
Would I? No.
I mean, would you start him at right back? I didn't mean.
Yeah. I think I like him at right back. No, I've not even clocked what you were saying.
Your fiance's out of town, so you could be open about this now.
Yeah. No.
Would you?
Pineapple pizza just at the door, keeping him away.
No, but he doesn't like it. He's against it. So that's
hence why I would put it outside the door to keep him away. Jeez,
okay.
It's like garlic on the door.
Richard Garlic.
Which I genuinely, for a long time, writing as a professional, spelt as genuinely garlic for a good 4 articles.
Well, that's because you're a wonderful indigenous chef. So
sure, 100%. That's all I can think about. But yeah, no, I think that's his best position. Genuinely, I like him at right back, but I wouldn't play him there for us. I think he's a good, solid backup. But I think Arsenal should be targeting a starter right back for sure.
How about that Hakimi dude? could probably play for us. All right, so we're going to wrap it up there. I do want to quickly mention before I send it around for plugs and stuff. Gooners versus Cancer is in high gear. We're getting ready for an amazing summer. We've already gotten off to a good start in May with our special early bird auction where Gary, who's been in the chat, don't waste a tweet, DWTT, has won who does not think Eoin is even close to being funny. I don't know if that was a comment you made or just in general about you.
Comedy subjective.
Yes, exactly. But he's won an Arsenal first team signed kit. We're going to have more stuff like that. We're going to have some amazing prizes that are donated by the club, by ex-players, by supporters like Jared Carver, and amazing opportunities and well, not opportunities, but amazing events like what Eoin is putting together for the second year in a row, a local football tournament. Tom, you've always been supportive. It's just this thing is growing in ways that really, really make me feel good. The buy-in of people from an emotional and a supportive standpoint is really happening. So, but Gooners, the big thing that's going on now is registrations for a FIFA 21 tournament. Now, Tom, you played last year, didn't you?
No.
Kind of.
No, I didn't really play. It was more of a just, I did an appearance.
Is the excuse that when you were playing in your group stage games, you were using your toes instead of your fingers?
In the group stages, I absolutely smashed the group stages. It was when they hit the knockout stages, I didn't do too well.
Who won that tournament, by the way?
Oh,
Facts.
Some kid with too much time on his hands.
he does not have too much time on his hands. He has the best dad in the entire world. By the way, where is it coming, Jake? It's coming up. All right. So yeah, someone has to defend his title, and no, he didn't keep the first prize. It was donated back. But the FIFA tournament for both PlayStation and is it PS5 or can people still play if they have the PlayStation 4?
I think they can.
Right. So PlayStation and Xbox, the FIFA tournament is going through registrations right now. All you have to do to register is go to gvcfifahxbox.live or gvcfifaps5.live, depending on which system you have, and you'll be entered in a Champions League tournament. You'll have group stage games, elimination stage games. People all over the world met each other and became friends through this thing last season. In addition to raising some money for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, it's $25 donation to enter, and it's great fun. We're going to be in Orlando when Arsenal are there. We're going to be in Las Vegas for Football Fest 2021, which is a great event that's going on during the Arsenal-Chelsea second game of the season, which is going to be a great time. Elliot from Arsenal Vision and his whole team are putting that together. We'll be there having a lot of fun. And it's just going to be a great fall or late summer and fall. So goonersvcancer.com. You can learn more. There's going to be a lot of announcements made. And I just want to thank the two of you for being as supportive from a publicity standpoint and from a participation standpoint as you have been, because you never know who your friends are until stuff like that comes up.
It feels really awkward when you be nice to us.
Look, I'm peeling the layers of the onion off.
Insult me quick. Please insult me quick.
I can't say anything. We've said everything.
So that's going on now. Just subscribe or follow us on Instagram. It's Gooners v Cancer. On Twitter, Gooners v Cancer. We usually retweet everything on the Gooners Pod Twitter account, but announcements about everything that's going on will be there. And anytime you're giving money to this charity, you are entering yourself in an opportunity to win something, whether it's memorabilia, signed shirts, game tickets, fun stuff, and or cash prizes like for the FIFA tournament. Eoin, you're all settled in your new house. You've got your baby-sized pool table behind you. Either that or it's the large or the room that you're in is the size of the Emirates Stadium.
It's a big room. It's good. But look, hopefully tomorrow night I will bathe in the tears of an entire nation.
Or we'll bathe in yours.
Yeah, we may have to go live a little bit after the game tomorrow. So keep your Twitter machine close just in case we announce a live podcast. But and if you end up getting that I've seen no suggestions of what I should have to do for my side of the bet. So I guess that ain't happening. But
no, there was one you have to stop drinking for a month.
No, he said I had to stop drinking beer for a month. I haven't had a beer probably for 3 months.
I'll think of something. Don't worry.
Yeah, and it won't be that, but because Orlando and Las Vegas are in the next month, so that's not going to happen. But yeah, if anyone wants to think of something, I'll do it, because you should not have a one-sided bet like that. Tom, am I or am I not the special guest on your transfer episode number 69 tomorrow?
You will not be up at 8 a.m. UK time.
I was up last night at 8 a.m. English time. I was, I will make it happen.
I am not referencing the fact that it is the 69th episode. It is far too much of a serious show for that kind of ridiculousness.
Ridiculosity.
Yeah, it's just. As I say, sorry for the listeners that I look like I've been falling asleep. It's because I have been. Not out of rudeness.
You're 7 minutes away from turning into a pumpkin, basically.
I was considering trying to stay up to watch the Copa America final, but I don't think that's going to happen.
That is going to be a great game. I cannot wait for that. It's an hour and 7 minutes away, and that's going to be some top flight football. What was I going to put up here? Oh yeah, this is what I hope to have happen tomorrow. This is how I plan to celebrate when it comes home. I saw him at Wimbledon this morning. He's going to have a busy day tomorrow, man. The men's Wimbledon final, and then
who won the men's Wimbledon final? Who won the women's today?
The women's was Ash Barty from. I put a bet on her winning in straight sets, and she blew it in the second set, but she came back and won it in the third. Lovely thing. I didn't know Kate was like taking over as the main, the Duke of Kent, who's been there for 5,000 years, presenting the trophy and stuff, is retiring after this year, and Kate Middleton's taking over. But yeah, this is what's going to happen when it comes home tomorrow night. And I think that's all. So Tom, you want to push your channel, because there's a lot of people who have no idea who you are that are watching this podcast. They didn't find us from you. They're not here because of you, and so we should tell them how to find your burgeoning podcast.
Yeah, well, hi, my name is Tom, and I run the Gooner Talk, and you can find us every single morning at 8 a.m. Just type in the Gooner Talk and it'll come up on your Twitter feeds or on YouTube. And yeah, you can check out my show with Sophie earlier on today if you like.
It was a great show. Good chat. Sophie's always a wonderful guest. It was a smashing show.
I love that. That was so funny.
Tom knows the meaning behind why I just played that too. But and so we're gonna finish off with this from 2 weeks ago. Just a beloved moment that I love so much. And tomorrow it might or might not come home. But thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Eoin. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Eoin. And
that doesn't look like what you think it looks like. I'm just saying that.
And come on, you three lions.
I'm telling you, and I'll make this bet with you right now, here and now, with Hertz as our witness. All right, if England win the Euros, I will get "It's Coming Home" tattooed on me. All right, that is it. And I'm not